Thank you for joining us. I'm John Stockdyke, the editor of AccountingWEB, and I'm here with three practitioners to look at the digital challenges facing accountants between now and 2020. The session we're doing here is kind of driven by a survey we did of 271 accountants, and to discuss the findings and the way they react to these challenges, I have Alan Hemingway from Hemingway Bailey. Alan's firm is the UK Firm of the Future, as awarded by Intuit just this October. Next to Alan is Lexi Shore, who's a partner with AC Mole in Taunton. And finally, people should be familiar with Rebecca Bennyworth, who's a tax writer and lecturer, but also importantly a practitioner who's working for small business clients from your firm in Stroud. So thanks for joining us. When we looked at the results and all those challenges, there was one thing that sort of seemed to sort of emerge out of the numbers of what's affecting small business clients. Previously, when we looked at this, the economy was quite a high issue in the summer because of the Brexit vote. But rising up and pretty much a persistent problem is record keeping. It's always there or thereabouts, and it has certainly grown as a concern. And we also, strangely, that was accompanied by an increase in red tape. Now, with tax season on the horizon, and of course making tax digital, we think the biggest challenge facing the profession and clients is coming in the shape of the digital tax transformation. Now, also the next question we asked in the survey was about cloud adoption, and that's quite an important assumption behind HMRC's regime, is that everyone will be using some kind of online accounting tool. But when we looked at the reality of the practices we talked to, 83% of them said that fewer than 25% of their clients were actually on cloud yet. So that's going to be, we know, everybody knows you have to move in that direction to support making tax digital, but it's a long, long way to go. So Rebecca, you've been advising HMRC as part of the digital advisory group on this project. How do our findings match the information you've collected and what you've been telling HMRC?
John, they're pretty much in line with what we've found through talking to firms out on the road and through meeting smaller firms mainly, and that is that most of them are going to have to migrate most of their clients, if not all of their clients, over onto some sort of digital product, probably a cloud-based product, because I think we would all agree between us that that's probably the simplest way to go. Certainly I think those firms have also put that information forward in their responses to the consultation document, which HMRC are currently wading through. But certainly you've not found out any information that disagrees with what we know. Huge challenge ahead, I think, for everybody.
Yep. Okay, now Alan, be quite interesting. Where do you position you and your clients on that spectrum of adoption?
Well, we're very much the other side of the spectrum to the extent of back in the spring of 2015, we took a very brave decision of, well, at the time it seemed brave, to actually move all our clients into the cloud. So all our business clients, we moved onto QuickBooks Online. And a lot of them moved from desktop systems of different providers. And actually it went much smoother than we expected. We actually lost one client who, even though we trained her 2 or 3 times, she couldn't really get the hang of the new software. And so she went to another accountant who was going to leave an Excel spreadsheet. And we actually said to her, it's fine, we don't obviously mind you moving, no issues there, but in a couple of years' time you're going to have to adopt something because of the new digital stuff's come in. Also her view at the time was, I'll address that when that happens. And for us, the practice has grown, it's more profitable, and we'll do much better services because we've gone fully in the cloud. Obviously for our own processes, we're cloud-based as well from beginning to end, so we've got lots of benefits from it, so certainly I'd recommend people to make that decision now.
Now Lexi has a slightly larger firm, or 8 partners rather than 1. I'd assume you probably are in the middle. You've probably got clients in the cloud because you're a QuickBooks Pro advisor, so you're obviously supporting some, but not all. And that's the real challenge the profession's going to face. How do you go about moving and migrating the non-cloud people into a digital environment?
It is a real challenge, actually, and I think for new clients coming on board, it's actually quite easy to articulate the software, the benefits, and why we should use it from day one. The real challenge for us is transitioning those clients who may have been with our firm for many years, may have reasonably perhaps now old-fashioned ways of maintaining their records, and explaining to them that making tax digital is coming, explaining to them what that will mean in terms of their records, how we can support them with that, whether it's by providing the software, whether it's taking over that record keeping for them, is really a challenge, actually. I think particularly because we're based in Somerset, so we have a number of rural clients, some of whom don't use broadband at all in their business at the moment. So getting this onto their agenda rather than it just being on their radar, and actually recognising it's something they need to do something about, and it is going to happen, it is actually a real challenge.
Now, it sounds like we have two firms here who have either gone all the way or and are actively involved in that process already. When we asked the survey respondents about when and how they plan to migrate their clients to the cloud, everybody recognises it needs to be done, but we did have 17% who are saying they were going to sort of hold off until the last possible moment. Do you think firms that are taking that stance, do they risk sort of missing out or possibly not really getting it right by focusing just on the absolute compliance, minimum compliance requirement?
I think there's a chance, John, that when they get there, and they will get there much later than us three and lots of other firms, when they get there, they will see the benefits, because the benefits are difficult not to see, of having more up-to-date records, not chasing around after clients trying to get accounting records way after the end of the period. But I think what they're going to do is suffer a really, really choppy couple of years if they leave this until, I guess you could argue, could leave it until 18 when this becomes mandatory, for at least for some businesses. But oh my goodness, I wouldn't want to have the clock running and HMRC expecting quarterly updates at the point at which you're just showing clients what online accounting is all about. So I think they'll get the benefits. I think their clients will get the benefits eventually. But what I think they're going to do is make their lives very, very difficult, and their clients are going to struggle through that transitional period. It'll be much, much easier to make that transition on a gradual basis.
I think I'd agree. If I may, John, our experience as a firm, I'd absolutely echo that. It really does take time to transition clients. This is really something you need to plan for and plan well ahead. And I think not doing that, you really do run the risk of missing the opportunity of making the most of this in terms of service.
And what kinds of things, when you start having that live information, what kind of difference can that make? Are you able to do with your clients when you have that insight?
In terms of from the cloud accounting software? Well, for me, it's really about having access to that real-time financial information. So it's the client being able to phone up and saying, oh, I've been doing this project, I think it's gone all right, but can I pay myself a dividend? And how much can I pay myself? And it's being able to answer that question then and there. So it's transforming that relationship with your client because you have the financial information to support their business decisions. So moving from the accounts being a historic set of data that was put together once a year, to the accounts being something that's instantly available and can therefore form the basis for decisions.
Mm-hmm. Callan, well, I think we sort of turn and hear a little bit more about your experience, but you're obviously quite advisory focused. Now we've got our survey showed a lot of firms were offering, I think 72% were doing management accounts, we had 58% were doing cash flow forecasts, a lot of other advisory-like or precursor services to being a business advisor. But when we looked at firms who were sort of, how much your clients asking you for business advice, 44% told us that, well, still less than half our clients come to us for that. So I sort of see this as a bit of a provision, or not a perception gap even, that there's a lot of advice going on, but maybe not being delivered or packaged for clients. Yeah. How do you you are a very advisory driven firm with a 100% cloud client base, but how do you present it and get the idea that I'm giving you business advice across your clients?
Yeah, all our clients get free support whenever they need it, whether it's sort of phone, email, or popping in to see us. We even have online diaries, so you can actually book to come and see me next Wednesday whenever I'm free. And they'll come and have that sort of chat, and a lot of times it's not just purely financial problems. They'll come, they might talk about the marketing, because obviously we've got that knowledge. We might not be marketing experts, for example, but we'll say you need to do a bit more work on your marketing. I know somebody who could work on there. But also I describe it as the 5-minuters. They'll ring you or drop you a quick email, ask you a question, which to them is very, very, very painful. They want the answer quickly. And if it's 1 or 2 minutes sort of quick response, and they suddenly go away really happy because you give them that bit of advice. Again, there's no sort of fear of ringing up and getting charged for speaking to over the phone, because we're fixed fees, and that sort of really helps.
Yeah. So rather than kind of putting them off because they think, oh, you know, how much is this call going to cost me? You encourage the 5-minuters.
Yeah,
as
the 5 minutes is probably a bad phrase, but the more they contact us with those sort of problems, it's better to tell us now and ask the question now than 12 months later where they've done the wrong decision, and probably cost them cost us a lot more time to unpick it and unravel it. And I think all accounting practices will have the same problem. If only you'd asked 6 months ago, we'd have stopped that happening, and it'd be much, much easier for everybody.
Now the sort of perception in the survey is very much that the profession's going in this direction, Rebecca. But do you think making text digital, bring back the shadow, do you think that will actually accelerate that transition?
I think it must inevitably, John, because what firms are going to have to do is they are going to have to push their clients quite hard towards this digital record keeping. But what that then puts you in the position of doing is offering this advice as you have on an ad hoc basis. And I'm interested by your answer, because what we're seeing, I think, is that not so much the special project type advice where we're saying we'll come in and we'll charge you X for this report or a cash flow statement or something, but very much being that trusted business advisor that you're actually alongside your client and you're there and available to answer simple questions. You know, the big end's gone in the van. Do I spend £600 mending it, or have I actually got enough money to get another van, and would that be a more sensible thing to do? It's almost like having an in-house financial director in a very, very small business. And I think that, I think once firms start to realise what that is, that service is available to them, you will build that relationship with your client far better than lobbing them a set of accounts and telling them to sign their tax return once a year.
Yeah, and that gets away from the commoditisation of the accounting profession. So the phrase trusted advisor is really, really relevant. And the more you can do that and get those little snippets of advice and being approachable, it really helps your clients hopefully stick with you, because obviously you're getting good service.
Although a theme that then is always sort of under the surface with AccountingWEB is that accountants need to really communicate that they are providing value to their clients, which moves us into sort of the marketing side of things. You know, you've designed your firm, Alan, almost to be a marketing advisory vehicle, and that's part of your formula.
Absolutely.
But what kind of role does marketing play at AC Mole, for example, to get that message out?
Yeah, I mean, we do spend a bit of time on marketing. We invest quite heavily in our website, and we have a range of kind of media presence, either in the paper or Twitter, social media feeds. And for us, it's really about raising our profile so that the name of the firm is out there and that it's recognised. A lot of our new work comes from professional referrals, so people who are either aware of the firm or know of the firm, know of partners within the firm. So for us, we kind of spread ourselves quite widely to cover all of those bases rather than focusing on an individual area. So it's kind of we cover the range of options.
A marketing matrix.
Something like that.
So Alan, in your marketing matrix, can you pass on any techniques or tools that you think work particularly well?
Well, not just for accounting practice, all businesses, social media is really important now. So the more you can have that social media presence, one, it's free, by and large. Try to be personal. I know you can always get various people saying, "Oh, we can do it for you," but you lose that personal touch. Be live, be responsive, interact. Don't just pump out how you use the latest tax returns and blah blah blah, because people don't read that, they're not interested. Whereas you're chatting about what's been on the TV that day and whatever, some news story, people are more likely to interact with you, and that's builds up that personal feel. And I remember in the past, somebody actually replied to one of my tweets saying, I don't need an accountant, but if I ever did, I'd come to you. And that was like really good because I built that relationship up on Twitter, for example. And that is a good thing for accountants and all businesses to do. So we always quite often advise to new startups, look, you need to get a social media presence because it's free. You don't have to spend thousands of pounds on marketing. You can get your presence raised early days just by doing something that's free.
I'd like to play a marketing card myself here, maybe. We've got this sort of perfect storm of challenges for the profession, and you know, I've used things like phrases like storms and shadows, but when you look at commoditization and the cloud transition, and you know, the need to be, you know, a business advisor, or you know, just to find a substitute for compliance work that's losing losing value. How do you frame that for yourself and your clients? You know, it's pretty, you know, stuff's going to have to happen, but how do you actually put it in front of your clients, Rebecca?
For me, it's all part of the same picture, and you could say digital challenge, but what you could say is this is just the future profession, and yes, there is an element of digital challenge in it because digital is the way the world's going, but it's a transition for the profession to move and to take our clients with us, I think, really. So I see the whole thing, making tax digital, the transition to a much more advisory role alongside our clients rather than sitting on high, if you like, and dishing things out to them. I see that all as part of the same picture, which is the business opportunities of the future. So I don't see any one bit of it as standing alone. I think we've got to look at the business of tomorrow, whether that's our business or our clients' businesses, and bring in all of these elements.
How do you sort of frame that concept at AC Mole?
I think for me it's really it's an incredible opportunity actually. I think it's an opportunity to transform your relationship with your clients from one of really a kind of compliance nature, tax returns, accounts returns, to being that trusted business advisor which Alan talked about. So being there, being available, being able to support your clients and having the information to enable you to do that. So for me, if making tax digital wasn't going to happen, I would want to be doing this anyway. And I can't see any reason why you wouldn't, because it is just such an opportunity to transform how you interact with your clients and the service that you're able to provide.
Excellent. Okay, well, Alan, I mean, I think all three of you are at the more progressive end of our sample from the survey. You know, you're, as the firm of the future, you've gone ahead and looked over the horizon for us. What kind of advice would you pass on to some of the other practitioners who aren't quite so advanced or still have quite a big journey to bring their clients along with?
I was big, well, to use one word really, so courage. Have the courage to go for it and actually make the adoption. As I say, it can be a little bit painful at times. Obviously clients could struggle, but ultimately it's to help you grow your practice. It's to, more importantly, help your clients get bigger and better. And there's so many good tools now in the software that it's a bit of a no-brainer in some ways not to do it, regardless of the making tax digital side. And to be honest, for that side, we don't really think of it because we're there now. And obviously software providers will be doing whatever tweaks they need to do to make it be compliant from the HMRC side. But the most important thing for any accountancy practice is start looking now. Start looking at what your options are. Start looking at your clients. Start how you're going to move them over. And actually the software solutions are very reasonably priced as well. So it's not the fact that you've got a big major investment to put in, and it's always up to date, it's always backed up. It's you've got the latest versions there. The apps are wonderful. There's so many new apps coming on that you can service any type of client by having the base platform like QBO and then bolting the apps on. By putting the apps on, you can suddenly service any type of client.
Well, I think on that note, we have to sort of wind up. There's a lot more information about the survey and what practices are doing in a report about preparing for the digital challenge that we've written. You can download that from the Intuit page on AccountingWEB. That's www.accountingweb.co.uk/Intuit. And once again, I'd like to thank our 3 panellists and Bridget for a really interesting and stimulating conversation.